So what is going on, guys? DanielBritz93 here with another video, and today I want to continue the conversation of what the best platform is to get your professional work done, right? So we've already talked about the Microsoft suite on the iPad Pro. We've talked about iWorks, or like the Apple version, their suite, whatever it's called now these days, which I'm not 100% sure about. But today we're going to touch on the G Suite, so all of Google's applications. So we have Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google's presentation, so PowerPoint presentation platform as well. And we're going to test all those, but we're going to do two things, right? We're going to test First, we're going to test the designated application, so the application that you get on the App Store, you download it, put it on your home screen, and then we're going to touch on the web portal application of the Google G Suite. And I think you're going to be pretty surprised, as I've been testing it out over the last week, and you'd be surprised what we can do on Safari, guys. So let's hop right into it, do the top-down view, and I'll show you guys exactly what the limitations are of the G Suite on the iPad Pro and how much better or worse it is to the other alternatives. And then my plan is to make a Microsoft versus Apple versus Google, all-encompassing video to give you guys the best outcome and what I think and what my ultimate recommendation is. So let's get right into it, guys. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to test out is the actual physical applications of the G Suite, right? So I've gone ahead, I've already downloaded all the main ones, right? So I have the G Drive, which is where you house all of the files that you're creating within these different applications, and then you have the different applications that allow you to edit those files from the G Drive. So I'm going to open G Drive first, just to show you guys what it looks like. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with it, but you have a home section, a starred section, so your favorites, whatever's shared, and then your ultimate file system, right? The first thing I want to test out though is if you can have two instances of the G Drive open, and you cannot do it. So anywhere that I put it on the screen, it won't let me put it down. I can't even get the slide over view of the G Drive. So just for testing purposes, I'm going to see if I can pull up the G Drive and slide over while Safari's open. So I guess yes, so you can open up the G Drive and slide over when you have another application open, but if you want to open G Drive on its own, then you cannot have slide over as well. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. G Drive does not work with multitasking of the same instance. So now let's see if I want to pull up a Google Docs file. So here it allows you to do this. So you can multitask with different types of G Suite applications. So I have G Drive on the left and then the actual Google Docs application on the right. And what I want to do is see if I can have two instances of Docs, because we learned that with Excel for Microsoft you can't have two instances, but with Word, PowerPoint, OneDrive, Outlook, all of those allow you to have two instances of the same application. Excel for some reason just doesn't allow that to happen. So we're testing out Google Docs. No, you can only do one instance of the application. And now I want to see how well the actual text editing works. And it's definitely not optimized for 13.4 cursor support. I'm trying to click and drag like I would on anything else. You can see that the cursor isn't changing to the text cursor when I go over some text, which normally it would on any application that's natively adjusted and updated to work with 13.4. So that's something to keep in mind. So I guess this, Google Docs is just a good text editor, or somewhere where you can just maybe do a script, jot down some quick notes, and then if you need to access it from all your different devices, then that's there. In terms of anything else, the functionality is very, very basic. The next thing I do want to try out are the other applications. So let's open up Google Sheets. So it allows you to multitask with Google Docs, so that's good. We're gonna open this all the way up and play around with a new spreadsheet, see what it can be called, test spread, or see how well it's adjusted for 13.4. So as you can see, no real adjustment for 13.4. I'm holding down Shift right now, see if it highlights everything. It doesn't, right? If I press Enter, it does move to the next cell. If I press Tab, it moves to the cell to the right. So those functions are still there. So you have the simple editing functions within Sheets, for a classic Excel situation. So we're going to do a quick little test here, my classic addition test, right? So equals sum of this through this. So it doesn't let me highlight all the text that I want, right? So if we go in, we're going to have to get rid of all of this. And I guess the way we would do it is, so sum, and then you press on the one, and then you have to drag it down, I would assume. Yes, you do. Close that up. And then it's giving me an error here, guys. So it doesn't let me, for some reason, sum all those up. And that's what we're dealing with. So definitely have to play around with it a little bit more to get a better understanding of what's going on with Sheets. But now let's open up of the Slides application, right? So if I pull up Slides, again, multitasking works with the different types of apps. We move this all the way over. Let's see if Slides opens up with a secondary one. Nope, it does not work, guys. So that's what we're dealing with when it comes to the G Suite applications, right? The native applications that were built for iPadOS and iOS. You can tell that there is a lot of limitations when it comes to it. So what I want to do is bring you guys over to Safari. I would consider Safari the most optimized app for the latest version of iPadOS, and right now we're on 13.4 or 13.5, I'm sorry. So I highly recommend playing around with Safari and seeing if you can get away with using Safari as your web portal for most of your applications, right? Because if I go into G Suite within Google, again, it's very similar to the actual application, right? The one that I was showing you guys earlier. You have the shared with me, the recents, the starred, your classic My Drive, which is all of your files being saved and loaded on there. And this is what you're dealing with, right? So what I want to show you guys is that you can technically get another G Drive suite open, right? So because it is within the same Safari application, which technically was probably the first application that allowed you to do the same instance of the same app. So if I grab this, pull it over to the right, boom, now I have two instances of my Google Drive open, guys. So that's a great thing to keep in mind. Use Safari to your advantage when it comes to multitasking and all the tasks you need to do with more than one situation, right? So let's open up a recent document. Let's go. So now we're gonna open up a untitled spreadsheet, right? A Google Sheets application. And you can see that even though maybe it's not fully optimized for 13.4, a lot of the functions feel a lot more desktop-like, right? So like I was saying, if you press Shift, it will highlight everything within that, right? Again, I'm holding down Shift, I'm pressing over here, everything there is highlighted. I'm gonna run my little addition to SO1. I'm pressing Enter to move down, right? Do 10 here, and then this equals, let's do our little equation, sum of 1, all the way down to here, close that up, press Enter, and then you can see that right there, it gave me the 55, right? So I'll press this got it right here. We'll add a border to really make it look nice, and then you're looking, and that's an addition problem right then and there. That'll change depending on what number is within that variable, right? So that's what we're dealing with when it comes to spreadsheets or Google Sheets on a desktop, on Safari's desktop class browser. And that's what I love about it. You can see there's a lot more functionality on the top, different editing formats. You can view it, you can insert different things, format the way you want to, add data, create filters, name ranges. So it goes, I would consider this a lot more intuitive, a lot more in-depth than it would the actual application. As you guys can see, people have been asking a lot about pivot tables. So pivot tables is here. I don't know the extent of that functionality, but just so you know, the tab is there and you can add pivot tables to this. You have different tools, and the beauty of it is that it ties together with all the other applications. But the next thing I do want to show you guys is opening up a second Google Docs spreadsheet and being able to work between the two. So again, because it is within Safari, it allows you to have two instances open, and there now I have two different spreadsheets open that I can play around with and have both data sets playing right there. And then the same concept applies to all the different applications that Google provides, right? So we can do the same thing for Google Docs, and the functionality is a lot more intensive there, right? So I have one right here. We'll try it out. Don't forget to sub for more content like this. Again, it works like a normal Google Doc. It works like a normal Word document. All the formatting tools are up top. It's a lot more intuitive, a lot more, like I said, in-depth. And then again, if we want to open up another one, if we go into the Google Drive, open up another Google Doc, pull this out, move it over, and now we're dealing with two different Google Docs. You just got to give it a second to resize itself here because it's a little bit confused, guys. So there it is. And then I'm able to highlight everything because you guys can see that the cursor support is there. It turned into a text editor. So here, we'll just do Apple C, move it over here, and you can see everything's working how it's supposed to, guys. So I like the functionality of Google Drive within Safari 1,000,000 times better, and I highly suggest trying it out, giving it a go, because the G Suite is working much better within the actual native application of Safari versus the other applications that Google pushes out, which they're not incentivized to continue to keep up to date, versus on the web portal, they're highly incentivized to keep it up to date because everybody that has a Windows machine, a Mac machine, and now an iPad can have full access to their G Suite and all the G Suite applications that come with it. So the last test we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys, make sure that the PowerPoint version is working. So Google Slides, if we open one of those up and then grab this, we'll open a second one and move it over here to take over here. Oh, as you guys can see, it just added a link there. So I'm gonna Control Z undo that, and we're gonna open this up to give us a full thing. And then if I grab this, move it over, boom, I have 2 slides applications open running within Safari, and you can kind of play with them as much as you want, guys. So this is what we're dealing with when it comes to the G Suite. Like I said, highly recommend trying it within Safari. It's a lot more intuitive, a lot more understandable, and a lot more relatable to the normal person, to the everyday person when it comes to doing tasks like this, because it looks a lot more like a Microsoft product, guys. So, and on top of that, Google Drive is 100% free for personal use, guys. So can't really beat that. I know Microsoft, I think they charge $8 a month for a personal account, and then also the Apple one is free too, but I think Google Sheets, you know, for being a free application, has the most functionality, guys. So let's get out of this top-down view and kind of finish this video up, but I appreciate you guys kind of listening in and listening to me talk about all this for an extended period of time. So hopefully that helps shed some light on what you can do with the G Suite on the iPad Pro. Like I showed you guys, so the actual applications that you download onto your iPad are pretty limited when it comes to iPadOS functionality and multitasking and doing what you're able to do. I would consider those more of a viewing application. So if you get something sent to you, you could save it on your G Drive and then view it later and keep it a downloaded file on your phone or your iPad. Versus on Safari, it's a lot more usable, right? It looks a lot more professional. You can have 2 instances at once because it's inside of the Safari app, which is built for that. So I highly recommend using Safari as your G Suite portal on the iPad Pro because there's just a lot more functionality in that way, guys. So like I said, hopefully this helped kind of let you guys decide on which suite of applications is better for you on the iPad Pro. My ultimate goal, like I said, is to do a Microsoft versus Google versus Apple comparison of all 3 to kind of help you guys decide what the final and best solution is for classic work tasks on the iPad Pro. Because at the end of the day, I want the iPad Pro to replace everybody's laptop because I just think that's the wave, that's the future, that's where we're going, and we're getting closer and closer to that final goal, guys. So just want to say thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be doing a few more of these videos in this setting, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. And until next time, peace.